A voice like rain on an old tin roof brings stories alive with a soothing truth. In pages he weaves a world so light. The stars lean close to kiss the night. His voice lulls hearts in restless mind, lost in tales where dreams unwind. The book feather reads as shadows rise. His words are calm as lullabies. So turn the page and close your eyes. Float where the quiet whispers lie. Across the oceans the stories tide. Relax and let the world subside. 1,000 accents, the moonlight bends, in words no borders, no distance ends. Worlds collide in his gentle tone. A whisper makes you feel at home. Each line he shares feels like coming back to a hearth of words in the silent black. From novels deep, poems that sway, he reads the night into the day. So turn the page and close your eyes. Float where the quiet whispers lie. Across the oceans the stories tide. Relax and let the world subside. A 1,000 accents, the moonlight bends, in words no borders, no distance ends. Across the oceans the stories tide. Relax and let the world subside.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Giggity. All right.
Seems quiet. Too quiet.
I'm Batman. Gotham is never safe without me. What time is it? It's 7 o'clock. Okay, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
You can attach towers? Shut up. Impromptu performance this evening, which I must say was indeed a welcome distraction. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. You're very kind.
This is gonna be funny.
What are you doing? Hi. Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday. Seriously. We haven't been live for like 60 seconds. And, you're already doing stuff. Stuff and things. First off, Renato, congratulations on claiming first place, and Jesse for second place, known as almost first. Proud of you both. But then Jesse goes and gives Renato a sub. Thank you for doing that. You didn't have to do that at all, but you did, and I thank you. I do. And then Mad Locust comes in. Hello. but also Whispers After Bedtime. I like that name. Thank you for the sub. That's a really cool name. Whispers After Bedtime. Did I ask you the wipe question? No. If you could wipe one book from your memory so that you could experience that awesomeness again, what would it be? Ooh. I don't know if I can just answer that on the spot. I mean, I guess my gut says Ready Player One, because I really like that book. I've read it a few times. But, Ooh. Man, that's a good question. Because there's so many books. I would say World War Z. I haven't read that one. I enjoyed the movie, played the game. Haven't read it though. Project Hail Mary is one I'd wipe. Interesting. That's a great question. We're going to pin that. That's going to be the question of the stream. I like it. Also, let's update the counter. So now we're back to 14 instead of 12. So there's that. Let's get the puzzle up so you can see what that's all about. It's a robot with a candy machine. So that's fun. And I want you to notice, very colorful. As I promised, this is the first stream in September, and I said I would start eliminating...
Hello there.
Well, hello there. I said I would start eliminating from the wheel. So I want you to notice that it starts with 6, not 1.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Kay's here. Kay's here. Kay is here. Kay is in my stream. Kay's here. Oh my god. Kay. Hi, Kay. Hi. Okay, stay calm. Breathe. Hi, Kay.
Hi, Kay. So yeah, I removed 1 through 5, which are wedges, but pages, wedges, whatever. So that means I get to spin it once for Jesse, and then once for our newest friend, who may have disappeared already. I'm not sure. Who is this mystery? Excuse me. Whispers After Bedtime. Kay, how are you? It's wonderful to see you. Did Whispers leave already? I would like to know who you are. But first, we spin for... This is Jesse's spin. Here we go. Almost a full revolution there. Close. Now we spin for Whispers. Good spin efforts by both. You'll notice Johnny Boombots has been added to the wall, to the bookshelf, because he resubbed last stream. So, yeah. This is how we do it on a Friday night. Whispers, I would love to get to know you. You've subscribed to the channel, which is amazing. But
Noise.
I am gonna take that privilege away from you, Corgi. Good evening, by the way. And Catbox is here. Hello, Catbox. How are you? It is a pleasure to see you. I thought I'd go pink tonight. I'm not a fan of how big the collars are. They seem pretty chunky, but overall, they're very comfortable shirts. I have one in white, I have the pink one, and I have a blue one. They're very nice, they're very silky, very soft. Soft. You wouldn't? Oh, try me. Just try me. Today has been a busy ass day. Should we leave you two alone? What, me and my shirt? We just had a moment, it's fine. Today's a busy day. So I worked my regular job. I did some of my other job building things. And now I'm doing this one. So it's a 3-job kind of day. Which is why I'm tired. No, I'm not. Shorty. Hi, Shorty. How are ya? What else? Okay, nice one. Taking almost second. Which is why you gave a free book, but I didn't actually smack myself with it though. I just use it to cover my yawn. Like this. See? But Shorty redeemed it, so it's fine. And K, so I have to smack myself twice. Really should have thought this through. Or at least made it more points. Ow. Should have separated them too. That would have been better. Anyway, lovely to see you. Thank you for the 2 subs right out of the gate. I would still love to know who Whispers is. I'm grateful that you are subscribed to the channel. I really am. But I would like to know who you are. Please say hello. Please? How can you resist these eyes? Maybe you can, I don't know. Let's check out my tea. Steady. Easy does it. I can resist. You can also recit. I know what you can't resist, though, Shorty. Would you all like to know what Shorty cannot resist? I'm the one with the lethal eyes here. It's true. They are pretty lethal. This is what Shorty can't resist. My house. My chair. My woman. All right. So there you go. That is from the Fourth Wing series. That is a damn fine cup of tea. You snorted? We didn't need to know. Could have just said you peed a little and moved on. I am hydrating, Corgi. You don't have to force it. Delicious. You need to hydrate? Yeah, you do. Right. So, today's Tuesday, we'll be reading. Don't forget on... Why is the screensaver not active? It's working for me. My face is bouncing around. That's weird. Why would it... Yeah, I don't know. You hit a new milestone at work today? What'd you do? Every time I click join, it says it's not active. Great. Another thing. Unbelievable. Let's see. I gotta think of where I even found that. Is that bad? I don't even remember where I got that from. There are so many different programs that a streamer can use to make stream what it is. Where the hell did I get it? I had to write a formal report on an incident I was present for because someone is trying to sue my store. Wow, that's a check on the old bucket list right there. Someone's trying to sue your store. What, did they slip on a banana or something? Why can't I find it? It's driving me up the wall. I don't know why I can't find this thing right now. Let me just literally go to my own stream and take a look. Take a look, see, yeah? Okay. Let's... Join screensaver. Huh. It really does say it's not active. That's weird. Not that I didn't believe you, but... That's so odd. Why would it think I'm not active? Like, I'm right here, you know? Let's see. There it is. It says it's activated. I'm wondering if it itself is having an issue, because I can't do anything more to it, because I have finally found it. So anyway, I don't know. Sorry about that. I guess I don't know why my face is floating around. This lady apparently slipped on a puddle of milk nowhere near the milk fridge, and is now saying they messed up their knee because of it. Well, they should not walk in milk. That's on them. So silly. All right. Let's move over to our reading scene so we can read. Okay. Puzzle is underway. We've got our marble race ready to go. "90 seconds on the clock. We all think it was the bag of milk in their own cart that might have popped and leaked because no one was aware of the spill. Very possible. But then, like, how does that play out? You know what I mean? What made the bag of milk pop? I'm assuming there was no milk in the fridge that had leaked, so therefore it had not already been popped open. But if the cart made it pop, or was it something in the cart? Either way, if she put it in there and then it started to spill, wouldn't she be liable for spilling her own milk? I'm just saying. It seems a bit suspicious. Everyone's looking for a free meal these days. Alrighty. Did she cry over spilt milk? Chapter 4, everybody. Which is on page 44, which I think is quite funny. And these races have 4 laps. Chapter 4 is Wednesday, 22nd of February, 2102. We're at the Joby Corp offices, capital J-O, capital B-I, Harpton, Maine City Center. I hope I'm saying that right. What's the race again? When the next one starts, it's !play. It says it right on the screen where the race is, shorty. Come on. Come on. Thank you for being here, everyone. It is my pleasure to read to you. I look forward to it every Sunday, every Tuesday. I don't read, you know this. You seem to do a pretty good job, though. Thank you for being here. Please relax, and I will read you a story. Corgi, it's my stream. I do what I want. Frank saw Gemma off and turned back to his office building. He marched in with a serious business air about him, taking the elevator up to his floor and hurried back to his office. There were still a few loose ends to tie up before he set off to meet Marcus Jensen. He called Bilson, his right-hand man, or second in command as they like to joke, to explain he would be out of office for the rest of the day. Due to unavoidable, unforeseen circumstances, it would need him to handle anything that cropped up, while denying him a real explanation about what was keeping him from his work. Maya When did you sneak in here? Little sneaky sneak. Ah, you just did the exclamation point play. I see. Okay. Good job. And welcome. Hi. Hi. I still think it's hilarious that that sign says Kitty Cola. Felicity had already cancelled his appointments for the day, but he had made a promise to call into one of the warehouses for a meeting with one of the under-managers. Jay was one of the best, but he had some sort of struggle with alcohol. Frank knew all about that. His first wife, Janet, was an alcoholic before he lost her to suicide. He found Jay's number in the online personnel files and tried to call to apologize for being unable to make the meeting. But the call went through to voicemail. There was no way he'd be able to commit to another day without checking his schedule. And he didn't want to appear callous, so he decided not to leave a message. He could always try again later. Whatever this meeting with Jensen was about, it was more pressing. He switched on his automatic out-of-office email response, grabbed his keys, and left without speaking to Felicity, who was busy on the phone. Instead, he offered her a simple nod as he made his way to the elevator and down to the underground parking facility. Frank waited until he was inside the car before he called Danny. He couldn't risk anyone listening to his conversations at work. Danny picked up on the second ring. Dad, have you seen the news? Yes. No. Sort of. Jensen called. Are you safe? Yeah, of course I'm safe. Why did Jensen call? Frank couldn't quite believe how dumb his son was sometimes. To tell me about the breakout. He wants to meet. He has all the inside knowledge. I'll be gone most of the day. We're meeting at Holly. Holly? Are you gonna be okay? Danny sounded concerned, and Frank couldn't blame him. Holly had a reputation for being unsafe. Yes, I'll call you when I'm home. Danny's voice changed to one of surprise when he said, Gemma's here. In one of your cars. Danny, I've got to go. I'll call you later. Bye. He snapped and ended the call, seething. My dog is going absolutely frickin' nuts right now. He had assumed Gemma was going back to Gromden. He inputted the address into his navigation system and set off driving, praying she would keep her mouth shut about their earlier conversation. The drive was long and tedious. He listened to the news, but there was nothing new. Huge explosion, genetically modified superhumans, how to identify them, not to go near them. Very dangerous. It seemed so odd. If anything, this seemed like something for the government, or something like the government would want to keep secret. Why panic an entire nation? Everyone seems to be asking that same question. Why panic everybody? Jesse, you beat me. I guess there was only two of us. I mean, toss a coin, really, 50-50. It means we both get mega points. Which means, ultimately, I'll probably win this whole thing. Again. It's fine. I don't mind winning. He finally approached the turnoff for Holly, and it wasn't much longer before he was in the city center. The place they were meeting was not a high-class establishment. It was a place in a questionable neighborhood, neither rich nor poor, with a good mix of cashers and legitimates. It was an old-style diner, with stools by the counter that served coffee and fruit pies. There was a large, flashing neon sign outside that says, "Cash accepted," in bright lights. Or I will, again. Oh, that's called a false sense of hope. You win nothing. It is an illusion. Frank knew he would have to leave his car and walk to the diner. It wasn't safe to park his car in this neighborhood, not without leaving himself open for being mugged. If people suspected he had any money, they would target him for sure. If only he had thought to change his clothing before he set off. Being well dressed made him stand out like a beacon. He was thankful his skin was dark. There was a general expectation that black people would be cashers, so maybe he would go unnoticed as he made his way through this poor town. An exaggerated sense of self-confidence? Precisely. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but better me than, the average Joe. Once he had located some underground parking, he removed his watch, then took his phone out of his jacket and concealed it in the glove box, along with his wallet and his ID. He didn't want to risk anyone knowing who he was. Wait, what about black people? You didn't hear nothing. No, he was just saying that this neighborhood, unfortunately, has some underprivileged people, and it's sad. But he also doesn't want to get mugged. I think, we don't know much about Frank at this point in the story. But I want to go out on a limb and say that, he's not a bad guy per se. Maybe he's made some choices that he wish he could reverse, but I think deep down there's still a little bit of warmth in that heart of his. That's my guess. We'll see. Break it to me. I think I need a nap. I'd rather you break me than some average Joe. Wow. All right then. Always warmth until proven otherwise. Indeed. As he arrived at the diner, he spotted Jensen sitting at a booth at the back, perusing a menu. Perusing a menu. His untidy, graying hair was poking out from behind the printed sheet that was obscuring his face from view. As he lowered the menu, Frank noticed how this man had aged. He was no longer a young man. He was in his late 50s, but he looked it these days. His jawline was hard and jagged, his thin lips almost colorless. "Frank!" Jensen greeted him with warm enthusiasm, and they shook hands. Frank eased himself into the seat opposite, and they talked for a minute, as though they were nothing but old friends catching up. "It's been a while. You look well," Jensen said. "I'm doing okay. How are things with you?" He smiled. "Still enjoying my retirement." He nodded as he spoke. "How's the family? Is Danny okay?" Frank nodded. "Everything is fine, thank you. Michelle and I are well. Lissy is studying hard at school, and Danny has moved into a house with his friend Tony." Jensen's eyebrows raised up. "He's living with a friend. Does this guy know?" Frank nodded. "They've been friends a long time. He knows." His tone was clipped as he spoke, making it obvious that he was not impressed that Tony knew the truth. Does it worry you? Frank shook his head, but his face betrayed his lie, as he said, No, it's been a long time since Danny's last episode. I'm sure he's just fine. Jensen nodded as the server approached to take their order, and he quickly changed the subject to fishing. The ease at which this man could jump into a topic and act as though that they had been discussing since their arrival was impressive. But no doubt, Jensen would be well practiced at this sort of thing. Yes, indeed. They placed their order of coffee, and as the server left, they got down to business. How bad is it? Frank asked. He wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. I've been in touch with the HGMR. They can't believe Maya won a second race. It's pretty bad. Oh, wait. Sorry, that's not in the story. Let's get down to business. Is that what you were thinking? Yep. To defeat the Huns. I've been in touch with the HGMR. They wouldn't say much, as I don't work for them anymore. But they wanted my input on what I think their next moves will be. They say there are 8 escaped XJ5s and 2 XFs, and an M. The M is who thought to have instigated the breakout. And you're using your new mug? No, I'm not actually. It hasn't been finished washed yet. I believe it's in the dishwasher now, but yeah. But I'm very excited to. Frank was a little unsure what the codes meant. He understood HGMR stood for Human Genetic and Mutations Research. They were a secret branch of the government that the common man knew nothing about until now. XJ was the project his wife had worked on, and when he had heard of the XFs, and he had heard of the XFs, but he wasn't sure what they were. What is XF and M? He asked. The XF was originally a social experiment conducted by me turning the page. Conducted by Multigen, almost 50 years back, when the HGMR were playing around with their eugenics program. I can read. Zorias, hello. Is it just a smaller one? It's a mug that I use pretty often. I've got 3 of them, 2 that are black, 1 that are blue. They have metal bottoms and boots with the fur. They have a metal container so they can sit on the warmer and stay nice and toasty for me. Multigen were tasked with breeding a race of people with superior intellect, but who were totally compliant. They wanted to see if it was possible to create a group of people who primarily used the analytical part of their brain, but weren't free thinkers. The XFs are incredibly intelligent, but they don't have any understanding of lies or manipulation. They are as naive and gullible as children in that respect. The experiment was deemed a success, but there was no use for the XFs. They were due to be terminated, but someone at the top saw potential to utilize them at Polygen. Every laboratory should have a small number of employees who follow orders to the letter, never answer back or complain, and have no empathy for the subjects they are testing. And the fact they have superior intellect and photographic memory meant they were ideal candidates to compile with the data from the XJ experiments. They worked on the XJ4 project, and so knew everything there was to know when we perfected the formula and moved on to XJ5. Boots with the fur. The whole T was looking at her. And M. They were a separate project, created around 30 years ago. They were ordinary humans, born to ordinary families, not developed in a laboratory like the XJs and XFs. Most were military, some spies. The scientists were working on enhancing their strength and intelligence. They were most impressive during their heyday, although the XJ project blew Project M out of the water when it came along. So, how did they escape? My money is on the M. You gotta understand how things work over there. I've been saying it for years. The XF3s handle all the security and much of the data compilation. Their main design specification was superior intelligence, and when the HGMR decided to utilize them at Polygen, they were only supposed to help compile the data from the experiments. But their capacity for memory, coupled with their analytical brains, made them perfect for the running of the security systems.
What's this? What's this?
God.
What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this?
That scared the hell out of me. Oh, hi, Gemma. There I was, in focus, in character, and then... What's this? Be still, my beating heart. Good to see you, Gemma. I hope you're doing well. Where was I? Did you ever do my redeem from a previous stream? What was that again? I don't remember. Oh, the monotone. Wow, your memory is on point. Oh, look, I won. Monotone, yes. I will do that now if you like. As soon as I find my place again. Here we go, monotone. One of their newer responsibilities including monitoring of the M's. M's are traced and tracked, heavily monitored and tested, but they are human. They have complaints and free will and objections like anybody else, yet they are sort of stuck. They are under the thumb of the government. Owned, if you like. It's not as if they can walk whenever they feel like it, but they are seen more as tools than as people. The HGMR matched each M with an XF3 as a monitor. The XF3 was to record everything about the M, every scrap of information. I've been saying for years that we shouldn't allow them to form personal connections like that. What would stop a friendship forming between the two when they are meeting with one another at such regular intervals? I don't know. Please, tell me more. Monotone. The XF3s have too many responsibilities. They have all the access codes, all the security codes, and they program all the systems themselves. They maintain all the tracking devices and the compliance chips. It would be easy to break out if you could coerce one into helping. Frank paid close attention, trying to take it all in. He hadn't realized there were other projects out there, or other research facilities doing similar work with genetics. Oh my goodness, it's an AMLAS. I can only imagine that when there is a spicy part, I know this book don't got any. Not that I've been told, but if you make me do monotone when we start reading this book, you're gonna piss off a lot of people. Smart as a monotone. Whip. Won't be great. No, it won't. It might be hilarious. But then there'll be someone listening that's like, I was enjoying the read. What's with the rainbow tail on Jesse's ball? In Marbles, you can get access to different things. Like you can change what your marble looks like. You can change how you enter. You can change how you leave. You can change the tail, as that's called. So it's just a modification. Modify. She had points, so she upgraded her ball. Now, where was I? Whenever I brought this up with the HGMR, they dismissed my concerns. They were confident that the way they designed, raised, and controlled the XF3s would be sufficient to never have them question the order at Polygen. The HGMR didn't believe they would ever question the rules or what they were taught. And they wanted to keep the test results as accurate as possible. They said there would be more margin for erroneous results if they didn't keep the XF3 monitors consistent. They basically advised me to concentrate on my own work with the XJ5s and mind my own business. Oh, Gemma, I just want you to know, just so you're aware, because I think I talked about it when you weren't here. Do I have? Yeah. Okay, you can't see it on this current, layout, but on the wheel, now that we're in September, I have started to remove wedges. So wedges 1 through 5 have been deleted. Next stream, I'll remove 6 through 10. After that, 11 through 15, so on and so forth. So on and so forth. So I just wanted you to be aware. The server reappeared with their drinks, and the subject turned back to fishing. I told him he was using the wrong sort of bait. You need those fat, meaty worms in those waters. He sat there all day without even a nibble. Jensen let out a natural-sounding laugh, then continued. It was the longest and most boring trip of my life. It astounded Frank how natural Jensen sounded. As the server left again, Frank picked back up where they had left off. So, You think this M person convinced the XF3s to turn off the security systems? And then what? They all just walked out? Jensen nodded. Yes, that's precisely what I think. Wait, but I thought there was an explosion. Didn't they blow up half of this facility? The news said there were over 250 deaths. Just as there were when Kay won the race, she killed everybody. Murder. You killed it. See what I did there? How I intertwined the two? Yep. This brain is pretty much Einstein level. You know, when Einstein was 2. Fubar. Man, that's some good tea. I know, I feel like I say that every stream. But I mean it. Jensen slowly shook his head. You have more than a childlike intellect. Thank you. The HGMR was responsible for the explosion. They blew up their own site? Why? The escape happened 5 days ago, Frank. Not last night.
You heard the lady?
Wait, stop!
You heard the lady? Squish. I don't know what you did, Fubar, but it sounded like you stepped in something. Frank stared at Jensen, unable to comprehend what he was saying. I don't follow, he said. Jensen sighed. Human genetics and mutations research is a branch of the government that the government doesn't want to admit to having anything to do with. They try to drop any affiliation with them 50, 60 years ago, when they were working on their eugenics program, and the country went mad over it. There's going to be a huge investigation. Everyone will want answers. The government must be seen to be looking for answers as to why there are people doing genetic experiments on humans. As soon as the escape happened, they moved their research to another site. Now they can say the explosion destroyed all their research and experiments. Frank stared at him in disbelief. They blew up their own people to cover up what they were doing. Jensen looked somber. Yes, I knew a lot of the workers who died. The government will do anything to protect their research. So that's why they made it public then. 5 days is a long time. They could be anywhere by now, couldn't they? Jensen nodded. They could. They're worth a lot of money. Especially the XJ5s. And they're dangerous. The HGMR wants to recover them as fast as possible. Making everyone aware of the threat is one way to get people on the lookout. If everyone knows what they're looking for, the missing XJ5 should find it difficult to hide. I doubt they will fit into society anyway. They are too different to humans. Danny's not, Frank said. He couldn't help sounding defensive. The ones raised at Polygen are. They have been heavily abused, controlled, and conditioned. It's not like they're able to function in the real world. They've never been outside. So, how much do you want to bet that the kid that was taken home is one of those experiments? Maybe XJ5, maybe something else? Maybe. Especially considering that she wasn't like walking normally and like her back was almost like in a weird position. Jesse. We have a winner. I think that might be a good guess. I think so too. Again, top level noggin over here. I'm sure you guys thought it too. Don't beat yourself up. Not everybody can be a genius. Right. Where were we? The two men sat in silence for a moment, drinking their coffee. Frank was thinking about what he had just learned. If Janet still worked there, she would have been one of the expendable workforces who was killed in the explosion. Twitch was timing you out? What'd you do, Fubar? If Jensen had still been working there, would he still be alive today? The obvious answer was yes. He would have known about it. Maybe he would have even been responsible for it. Does Danny know about the escape? Jensen asked. Yes, it's all over the news. Do we need to worry? Jensen shook his head. Nobody there knows about him. Only me, and I intend to keep my promise to you and Nicole. Janet. Frank corrected him. Yes, of course. Sorry. I still remember her as Nicole. Me too. A sad smile graced his lips. We were happy when she was Nicole, and I was George, before she'd ever become mixed up in that whole mess. Ah, fake identities, huh? Assumed new personas. The plot thickens. Stop Mama's mama! Hi. You didn't do your intro. I didn't know you were there until I looked up. I am sorry for what happened. I truly thought after she got away from that place she would be okay. That she would forget about it and go on and live her life with her new identity. She had so much to live for. While you were reading, didn't want to interrupt? That's very kind of you. You are more than welcome to interrupt. Frank nodded. His wife was never the same after she entered that place. Nicole and George were a happy couple with a comfortable life. They both had careers they enjoyed, and then they were blessed with a child. He would give almost anything to go back to those days. But then, he wouldn't have married Michelle, or be a father to Danny and Lissy. He wasn't sorry for how his life had turned out. So, Danny moved out? How do you feel about that? Jensen asked, changing the subject from Frank's dead wife. He's a big boy. He's sensible. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Well, how has he been? Any unusual behavior? Jensen always made Frank feel uneasy when he started asking questions like this. He trusted Jensen to a certain degree, after all. He was the one who helped Janet get out from under HGMR's control, and he had never revealed to anyone how she had smuggled out one of their infants. But Frank couldn't help wondering if this man's interest in his son was more scientific than friendly. Danny was the only one of his kind to be raised away from the Polygen research facility, and the XJ5 project had been Jensen's life work. It would be only natural for him to want to make comparisons. So Danny was the one that was smuggled out. Now we know. This is why you read the prologue, folks. Because we'd be a little bit confused had we not right about now. Danny is fine. Just like any other 20-year-old man. Frank glared at Jensen with a pointed look. Danny wasn't a child anymore, and he wasn't one of Jensen's experiments either. He was a grown-up with a house, a job, and a girlfriend. Jensen cast a thoughtful glance at Frank. It's been a while since I last saw or spoke to him, that's all. I'm the only person who can help Daddy understand who or what he is. You might not care to hear it, but Danny isn't just like any other 20-year-old man. He is vastly different, possibly dangerous, and burying your head in the sand about it will change nothing. He's fine. He's been seeing a girlfriend a while now, hasn't he? I finally won. Look at me. The tables are turning. You too shall come to the dark side. Here we go. Race number 8. The question sounded so casual, but Frank heard the obvious weight behind it. The XJ5s weren't made to form close connections with others. You know he has. I know he's discussed it with you in your meetings, he said tightly. Look, I appreciate your help. And you finishing the puzzle. Well, you guys knocked that out quick. A colorful gumball machine and a robot on display. Well, you can't get any more specific than that. Well done. You guys knocked that out of the park in less than an hour. All that puzzling paid off. Oh, my back. Man, I could use a chiropractor and a massage. They did do that quickly, but now I'm going to crave gumballs. See, I never did like gumballs. The flavor of them dissipated within 10 seconds, and the gum was never that great. Did I just hear it? Oh, it was the RPG game. I was like, what the hell am I hearing? I appreciate your help and your insight. Insight, Marcus. I really do. But you need to back off. He's fine. I'm fine. His girlfriend is fine. So close. Frank had hoped that would be the end. But Jensen continued. I take it the control techniques I taught him are working then? He hasn't lost control of himself for some time? Frank shook his head. Not for a long time. He's doing very well. He lied, admitting that Danny was no longer living at home because he had gone into full meltdown and tried to kill Lissy was the last thing he wanted to do. Michelle said she wasn't prepared to have him in the house anymore. And Danny felt so guilty, and he was so worried it might happen again, he didn't even argue. They finished their coffees in silence, both lost in thought about what they had been discussing. There is one thing Danny should be aware of. Jensen said as they were getting ready to leave. I'm not saying that they will go down this route, but if they do, Danny will need to take care and look out for himself. What are you talking about? I'm talking about there's an ad. Son of a biscuit. I snoozed it because I wasn't sure if we were going to finish the chapter anytime soon. Holy cow. We have lots of pages. It might end up being a one chapter kind of night. Sheesh. Thank you. All right. Since I know that ads need to start and that we're nowhere near finishing the chapter, I'm going to run them now. And of course, while the ads are running, we're going to do a couple of wheel spins for the Wheel of Gains and do that as well. Do all the things.
No weight squats X10.
No weighted squats times 10. Hello?
Push-ups X10.
And 10 push-ups. 1, 2, back down to 12. All right, so squats, then push. Nailed it. Oh, look, I won again. And just in time for the commercial break to finish. How about that?
Honk, noise, 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 honk.
Johnny. I want you to notice, Johnny, you are now on the shelf. Just in case you weren't aware. I know, Corgi. Very proud of you. Am I an elf? No, the bookshelf, sir. You're like there in the center. In the center. That's you. thank you. The thanks are mine. All right, race number 9 is going, and I'm going to try and remember where we left off. Oh, that's right. Danny will need to take care and look out for himself. And then Frank says, "What are you talking about?" One of the surefire ways to track the missing XJs would be to use the others to locate them. They have extra senses to us, Frank. They can sense each other. Frank's mouth fell open. What do you mean? Sense each other? How? Jensen shook his head. They were back to talking in whispered tones again. Frank, they were specially designed to work in teams. A single XJ5 is dangerous. A group of them working together are unstoppable. They can sense each other, locate each other if they are close by, and they react to each other in ways that are difficult to explain. It's almost like a hive mind situation, except they're not reading each other's minds, more like feeling each other's feelings. He paused for a minute, then said, "What I'm saying is, if the HGMR decides to use their controlled XJ5s to locate the missing ones, they might accidentally find Danny." Dun dun dun. That could be a problem. Frank's heart beat a little quicker in his chest. He had no idea of the special talent that his son possessed. Does Danny know about this? That he can do this, I mean. Did you ever tell him? Jensen shook his head. No. I couldn't imagine a time where he would ever need to be privy to that information. I didn't think he would ever meet another XJ5. And he still probably won't. But one of his greatest struggles is the fact that he is so different to us. I didn't want to tell him he's more different than he imagines. I didn't see how that would help him. Do you think I should tell him? Is it something he should be told about? Super! What's up, sir? Metal Eden is so good. I don't know what that is. But that's alright. I think the HGMR will use the controlled XJ5s as a last resort. They wouldn't want anything to interfere with the research on the prototypes. The current XJ5s are only for experimentation. The plan was never to use them commercially, but if they have trouble finding the missing ones, they might decide to go down that route. Frank rubbed his face. This was a lot to take in. Just like Kay, winning another race is so much to absorb and understand. So we'll just move on to another. I might not work for them anymore, but I'm a respected scientist in the field. The XJ5 project was my baby, and I expect they will contact me to ask my advice and opinions on how to proceed with the capture of the missing subjects. Of course, I will pass on everything I find out. If they decide to go forward and use the XJ5s to locate the missing ones, then I would advise Danny to apply to temporarily leave the country. Leave the country? Why? There weren't that many safe places outside of New America, and the country was very selective about who they let in or out. Danny, as far as anyone knows, is your biological son. Your man Tyler did an excellent job with his fake birth registry and digital ID. He appears to be a legitimate citizen from a wealthy family. Nobody would think twice about stopping him from leaving the country for business purposes. The missing XJ5s cannot leave the country unnoticed. I doubt the HGMR will search for them outside of New America. I understand. Thank you, Marcus. Frank, do you understand what would happen to Danny if they ever discovered that he existed? Frank swallowed. He had spent the last 20 years trying not to think about it. He would never leave the facility, and his life would not be worth living. There was a hardness to his voice when he said, I'm not proud to admit that I have spent a good portion of my life torturing children and adolescents in the name of science. But there it is. If Danny was among them, I would have tortured him too. The others continuing the research would be very interested in Danny. It was the first time Frank had ever witnessed Jensen reference the things he used to do at Polygen. He wondered how he could sit there and so brazenly admit to torturing children. How could he live with himself? The things he had done were by choice and were far worse than the work they forced Janet to carry out. Yet she was so tortured with guilt that she drank her sorrows away until the weight of her conscience became too much, and she killed herself. Jensen didn't even seem sorry. It was all so matter of fact to him. Frank had listened to enough. He got to his feet and offered Jensen his outstretched hand. I'll be in touch if I find out any more news on how they plan to proceed with the search. Thank you, Marcus. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out some cash. He didn't want anyone being able to trace him to Holly or being able to pin him down as being in contact with an ex-Polygen scientist. It wouldn't take too much digging to find out his real name was George Wilkes, and he was the husband of Nicole Wilkes, the Polygen genetics researcher who disappeared 20 years ago. And from there, it wouldn't be a big jump for anyone to work out how Danny fit into the equation. He left, feeling worse for seeing Jensen. The idea that any person with a heart could live with themselves after the things he'd done was beyond Frank's comprehension. He would never understand how he could have had an escape plan in place, then simply turn his back on it and give it all up for a promotion. Jensen chose to be there in the end. He chose to hurt those children. Frank saw how his wife wrestled with the weight of her conscience until it took her life. It didn't sit well with him that Jensen saw the XJ5 project as nothing more than a science experiment. Just like Kay's experimenting with our marbles' lives. She's torturing our balls. He didn't consider them to be in any way human or have feelings. To his mind, they were nothing more than tools or items of stock to be controlled and used for a purpose. They weren't meant to have feelings or independent thoughts. It made him question Jensen's motives in wanting to keep a relationship with Danny. If he hadn't been so desperate for help and answers, he might have taken Danny and ran 1,000,000 miles away when Jensen showed back up in their lives. But Danny was out of control. And there was a time when Frank thought he was beyond help. He would get consumed by fits of rage He was so strong, there was nothing anybody could do to stop him or calm him. In truth, Danny had frightened Frank when he got into those states. But thanks to Jensen and his extensive knowledge on the XJ5s and how their brains process information, Danny had found staying in control of himself more manageable. Thoughts of Danny and the conversations he'd had with Jensen consumed his mind for the entire drive home. He weighed up the pros and cons of telling Danny about his extra senses and what that might mean. The thing Danny struggled hardest with was being so different. There was no getting away from it. His senses were so acute that he was often overwhelmed, and who wouldn't be in this situation? He could hear the tiniest noises and smell things that the rest of the world didn't even know how to scent. Jensen was probably right to keep this information from him. The thing he hated most was how nobody understood how he felt. He felt completely alone and different to everyone else, even though he was aware there were others like him. If he knew they all had a strange bond, that they sensed each other, it would only serve to make him feel even more alone. Frank reached for his phone to call Danny. The call connected to Danny's voice and came through the speaker. "Dad, are you on your way back already?" Yeah. It was only a short meeting." He checked the time. It was almost 3:30 p.m. "I should be home by 7:30 if the traffic is clear." He wanted to ask about Gemma, to ask if she was still there or if she'd mentioned anything about their meeting earlier that morning, but he was afraid to draw attention to it. Instead, he said, "What are your plans for dinner tonight?" "Nothing much. We were just going to order in. And then I was going to drive Gemma back home. Why?" Would you like to come home, eat with us?" Dad, I'm seeing Gemma tonight." Frank heard the annoyance in his son's voice. "Yes, I'm inviting you both for dinner. I'd very much like to get to know your girlfriend a little better, Danny." There was a pause. Danny seemed lost for words. Yeah, sure, thanks, Dad." He sounded so taken aback. Frank felt a little ashamed that he had never even given the girl a chance before. "Danny, how much does she know about you?" He tried to make the question sound casual, but this wasn't a casual type of question. There was another awkward pause. It was obvious he didn't want to admit to telling her everything. "Danny," he said in a more demanding tone. "She knows. But honestly, Dad, it's okay. She's known for a long time." Frank let out a long exhale. He knew what Gemma had been hinting at earlier, but he didn't want to believe that his son would endanger himself by telling her everything. "Dad, are you okay?" Frank could not answer that question honestly. He was so far from okay, it was unreal. He was seething, astounded that Danny would put his own safety at risk like this. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white, and his jaw clenched as he tried to keep the angry words inside. He tried to find some calm and remind himself he was supposed to be building bridges with this girl. "Yes, it's good that she knows. It means we can have a proper discussion about things later," he said through gritted teeth. "Okay. Care to explain yourself?" How did that happen? No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. Right. Thanks, Dad. Frank noted the surprise in his son's voice. This wasn't the usual way these conversations went. Michelle would be so proud that he had listened to her for once. I'm going for the podium this race. Oh, good luck. I'm not. It's nice to have you chasing my rear for a change. Wow. Super is chasing Kay's ass. Just come whenever. We'll order in. I'll let Michelle know. They said their goodbyes, and Frank sincerely hoped he could count on Gemma to keep her word and not let slip about their meeting earlier that day. All being well, he could keep her on his side for now, building his time until they split. Then he imagined he would have to pay her a fortune to keep her mouth shut about what Danny had told her. He was pissed that his son had been so reckless. Chew, hello. I'm almost always chasing yours. Well, I can't blame you. Turning on the radio again, Frank shifted his attention back to the news. There was nothing new. They were still playing the same reports, still spreading their lies, saying it happened less than 12 hours ago, saying that the escapees murdered 250 workers. Then came the official government representative claiming that they were doing everything they could to control and minimize this threat to public safety, and saying how they would be a full investigation into how human genetic testing could take place at all. The government wasn't planning to accept responsibility for the HGMR. Frank shook his head in disgust. What else did the government lie about? The people were sheep, blind and controlled. The country was a mess. As he drove, his thoughts turned to his past. The Polygen site was so secret, people didn't apply to work there. The only reason Frank knew about it was because Janet had been plucked from death row to serve the HGMR. She had been sentenced to death for a crime of passion. She shot the man who had murdered their 3-year-old son, Thomas. The offer of work in exchange for her life had seemed like a lifeline, an answer to their prayers. But once she was there, they forced her to do unspeakable things, things no person should ever have to do. She couldn't argue, she couldn't refuse, and if she didn't comply, she would have been back in prison, lined up for the next lethal injection. And then they would have killed me, and they would have... Wow, I can read. And then they would have had me killed too, he thought. There was no doubt in his mind this was why his wife had stuck it out as long as she did. Her love had never wavered, even when that place had sucked the life and soul out of her. The bitter thought left an unpleasant taste in the back of his throat. Thinking of Janet always made Frank feel guilty. Guilty that he couldn't save her. Guilty that he loved his new wife, but he would never be over the death of his old one. Sometimes he yearned for his old life, when things were perfect and he was George and she was Nicole. He idly wondered what his life would be like now. Their son would be 26 years old, a perfectly average man. Maybe he would have had children of his own. Frank liked the idea of becoming a grandfather. He would never get that from Danny. You don't make a genetically modified super soldier worth millions of dollars and then give it the means to reproduce. Poor Danny. Poor kid doesn't even know what he is. Shaking his mind back to the present, he thought he better call Michelle to tell her about the dinner plans. She sounded pleased to hear that he had invited Gemma. She'd been saying for a long time that he needed to give her a chance and that he was going to lose Danny if he didn't accept he was old enough to make his own choices. Of course, she was right. Danny used to talk to him. They would discuss every single decision together. But now, Danny was his own man. He didn't need his advice or permission. And Frank's obvious dislike for the girl his son said he loved must be a factor in what had driven them apart. Frank was becoming calmer and more hopeful as he approached home. He greeted Michelle and filled her in on his day, and it was comforting to know that she wasn't overly concerned about the situation. "There are only 8 escaped?" she asked. Frank nodded. "Well, the chance of running into one will be slim to none then. Not here. We live in one of the most elite neighborhoods in Harpton, Maine. Actually, one of the most elite neighborhoods in New America. These X people won't be able to cross the boundary without being discovered. They have no government-issue ID." Frank hadn't looked at it that way. She was right. He expected they would increase security measures too. The reason the government had made it public and tried to incite fear and panic amongst its people was obvious. They were trying to drive further distrust between the classes. This was just another way to wage war on the cashier and immigrant society, an insidious way to perpetrate the idea that people with no identification were not to be trusted. It was only another hour before Danny and Gemma arrived. She looked unsure as she followed Danny in through the door and into their huge hallway. Frank remembered the one and only time she had ever been here before, and he had been less than welcoming towards her. He was determined to make more of an effort with her now. Surely this was just one last act of rebellion from his son, and Danny would get bored with her soon enough. Once Frank was more accepting towards her, then he would find a new and more suitable girlfriend, one who had some sort of education and prospects. Wow. On one hand, Frank has this heart, right? And then, on the other hand, he's kind of a prick. So... I saw you, MLS. Oh, hold on a second. I gotta send a message. Okay, now, where was I? Frank made small talk, but it was difficult. He didn't have a full picture of Gemma's situation, and there were vast differences in their backgrounds, but she seemed to try hard to keep things light and friendly. It was clear to Frank that she had indeed kept her word and not said anything to Danny about their discussion that morning. Michelle was much better at making conversation with her. She had a way about her that instantly put people at ease. Perhaps that's what made her such a good psychologist. Gemma got along well with Lissy too. She seemed to know exactly how to interact with a 14-year-old. Asking her about boys and all about school and what it was like, confirming Frank's suspicions that Gemma had received no type of formal education whatsoever. Lissy was still very wary of Danny. They hadn't seen each other since his last incident, and he had terrified her. She spent most of the evening sitting close to her mother, barely looking at Danny. And once the meal was over, she retreated to her room, claiming that she had homework to finish. "She'll come around," Frank said with gentle patience. He couldn't imagine how his son was feeling. Danny's face was serious as he nodded. She shouldn't have to. It should never have happened. Michelle cast her eyes over to Gemma, then the two men. "Perhaps we should discuss this later." "It's okay. Gemma already knows everything," Danny said, in a tone that screamed, "Don't start with me." Gemma's face turned a pale shade of pink as Danny grabbed her hand and turned to his parents, saying, "She's part of it now. She's in on it. We don't have secrets from each other." Frank cleared his throat. "Well, since everybody is aware of the situation, you might as well hear what Jensen had to say," he said. There was a slight shift in the atmosphere in the room as Frank spoke. A seriousness filled the air as Danny paid close attention to what Frank had to say. He gave little away about how the news of people like him being out in the real world was affecting him. His face remained passive and controlled as he listened. Gemma looked concerned, but kept quiet. Frank doubted she had anything constructive to offer. Still, he couldn't help but notice the comfort his son drew from the girl. He still hadn't released her hand, and was making gentle strokes up and down the back of it with his thumb as he listened to Frank retell the information he had learned. Once the conversation turned back to lighter subjects, everyone seemed to relax a little. But it was getting late, and Gemma needed to be getting home. "Thank you for coming, Gemma. It was nice to see you again," Michelle said with a genuine warmth. "I hope we will see you again soon." Gemma cast a hesitant look to Frank. He nodded and smiled in half-hearted agreement. "Gemma, why don't you get in the car? I'll be there in just a minute," Danny said. Danny turned to Frank as she left and said, "Thanks for tonight. It means a lot to me that you're giving her a chance." Frank nodded. He didn't know what else to say. "I'll call you tomorrow. Maybe we can grab some lunch? Unless you're busy, of course." Danny nodded. "Sure, I'll see you tomorrow." "Bye, Dad. Michelle, will you tell Lissy I said goodbye?" The pain and guilt were still there on his face. Frank had never felt so sorry for anyone as he did for his son right then. Michelle nodded and said he would, and Danny left, looking dejected as he trudged out. "Well, that went well," Michelle said with a cheerful smile as she watched Danny drive away. "What has caused this sudden turnaround with you and Gemma?" "Well, I just thought I'd take your advice, that's all," he said, trying to arrange his face into an innocent expression. Anytime I try to rearrange my face, I just look weirder. She looked at him skeptically. Okay. I thought it would be better for Danny if I supported him, that's all. Jensen knows all about Gemma, and I'm the person he should talk to, not him. It's not that I don't trust him, but the way he talks, and the types of questions he asks. I'm not sure if he's just being friendly and trying to be helpful, or if his motivation for maintaining a friendship with Danny is more scientific. Once he had said it, he knew it was true. Jensen was a family friend, and they owed him so much, and he trusted him, to a point. But Jensen openly admitted that his work came before everything else at Polygen, and he had an inquiring mind. He seemed to have an unusually high interest in Danny's relationship with Gemma. XJ5s weren't made to form close personal relationships. Frank decided it was better to leave out the part about trying to pay Gemma off to leave his son. Somehow, he didn't think Michelle would agree with that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, ends a quite lengthy chapter 4. Keep your friends close. Keep your enemies closer. How many pages was that? Let's see. That was about 20 pages. Which, you know, it's not like we started reading right at 6. And we took breaks to do stuff. So, pretty average. Once the marble races are done, though, I will have to stop stream pretty quickly, unfortunately. To be spinning round. To be quite transparent, because I always try to be as honest as I possibly can with you guys. I have been having a lot of chest pain this evening. Normally it just goes away after a little while. 10, 15 minutes at most, but it has, it's been there pretty much since I sat down, so. It's a bit painful, and it's not very enjoyable at all. Yeah, no. I appreciate it, guys. I just want to see who wins. The last 2 races, I'm just going to change it to 1 lap. And then we'll end stream. And yes, normally I would raid out, but I'll just end it and call it a night. You need to go now, getting my mom finger out. Want to turn off cam? No, it's okay. Look, I know we say this as streamers, and it's true. I don't think anyone's saying it to just say it, but you are my community, you know? You are my people outside of the house. And I am not shy about, you know, keeping things real with you. So, I'm okay with saying it. That's why I said it. I want to be as honest with you as I possibly can. So we're just gonna speed run these last couple of races, because we all need to know if Kay's on the podium. Of course, MLS. I mean, am I gonna spill every little detail in life? Probably not. But hopefully you've realized that there's not much about me that I'm not willing to share. You know? I'm an open book. I've never been shy about my heart condition. I've talked about it before. There's nothing new there. And for a while, things have been going really well with my issues and stuff. Like I've been pretty stable, but tonight, for some reason, it's just trying to kick my ass. And I am not having a heart attack, okay? I am at no risk for that. This is other stuff, electrical, weird stuff that, you know, I'm not at risk for blockages or whatever. It's not that kind of heart issue. Well, and exactly, unless so I'm not even on a regimen for baby aspirin. So, yeah. But I have enjoyed reading to you. That chapter was, I would say, a pivotal chapter early on in the story. Has a lot to say. Marbles go burr. I just saw that. There's some inside knowledge that we got to find out, which we didn't know about. So that was kind of cool. Just making sure your health is very important to us. I appreciate that. You know, this might surprise you, but it's important for me as well. Are you excited for Helldivers Thursday? I am. I hope this new update lives up to the hype, because it promises to be pretty cool. In fact, that update should have been today. So at some point I'll have to check and then see if there's any manual updates I need to do. Oh, there's Kay winning again. All right, let's finish this. Let's see who came in third. Oh, Amles. There you go. They've been playing? Cool. No, tell me nothing. I don't want to know. Bookfather in second. And let's face it, we all know Kay came in first. There it is. You're not too sure what's been happening? Fair enough. Congratulations, Kay. Oh, that was a pretty wide gap, too. Jeez. You were 75 points ahead. That's insane. All right. Thank you again. Thank you for the gifted sub and the new sub as well from Whispers After Bedtime, whoever you might be. I hope we get to hear from you in the future. I appreciate it. But yes, all being well, we'll be back on Thursday. And we'll be doing some Helldivers. So until then, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I will see you next time.